it is heartbreaking. I don't, you know, anyway. That's my opinion. And especially here in Illinois, we have Governor George Ryan, is this heroic conservative Republican who's now declared this moratorium. It turned me around, I'll tell you folks. I was a death penalty proponent until a couple of months ago, and I've gone through this catharsis, and I think maybe the whole nation is going to, doesn't it give you, ladies and gentlemen, a bad taste in your mouth? I know this guy's a scumbag, this Cruz. What he did to this woman, lock him in a room with no windows, give him bread and water for the rest of his. I mean, is that, Senator Ellis? Is that the option that you were going to propose?
In Texas, the jury doesn't have that option. What I was going to say to the general is there are only 3 states in America that give the death penalty but don't give life without parole. Texas, New Mexico, and Kansas. I mean, it's ridiculous. In California, your jury would have had the option if they thought his mental disability was at the standard of mental retardation or mentally insane. They could lock him up and throw away the key. In Texas, life means 40 years. And it's interesting, the same people who say you shouldn't ban the option to the jury of life of not executing retarded people also come back and say you shouldn't give the jury the option of life without parole. Something sick about that system. Sounds to me like some people are hung up on just killing people. I'm for the death penalty, but we ought to stop defending this madness and reform it. I'm for the death penalty, but it ought to be fair. It ought not just be reserved for poor people. We ought not execute retarded people. We ought to give juries the option of life without parole. We ought to make sure people have decent attorneys. And it ought not be reserved for the poor and minorities in particular. And that's not just in my state, General. That's across this country, sir.
I agree with you. I mean, I support the idea in the state of California where you have the option of life without possibility of parole, but I believe the jury ought to make that determination.
Well, what I'm saying is in Texas, the jury doesn't have the option of life without parole. That's the madness we have in this state. So many good people are caught up into defending a system. There's a lot of covering the backside going on now. Imagine releasing an IQ test that was some secret test a couple of days ago. You don't develop mental retardation in jail.
I gotta go. Senator Ellis referring to this 11th hour release of a test that showed that Cruz maybe had an IQ in the 80s.